हाय चिल्ड्रन, आज हम बात करेंगे टाइप्स ऑफ फोर्सेस के बारे में। सो टाइप्स ऑफ फोर्सेस, फोर्सेस कितने टाइप होते हैं, कितने टाइप होते हैं। एक है मैग्नेटिक फोर्स, इलेक्ट्रिक फोर्स, ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स and frictional force. Generally there will be lot of forces. In your coming classes you are going to learn. For the basic things we are learning these types of forces in your third standard, right? पहला मैग्नेटिक फोर्स के बारे में सीख लेंगे। क्या कहते हैं मैग्नेटिक फोर्स? अयस्कांत, वो अयस्कांत कहते हैं मैग्नेट। सो व्हाट डज इट से? A magnetic force can attract objects. Magnet क्या कहते हैं, क्या करते हैं? It will attract the objects such as iron and steel. Generally you kids, you are playing with the magnets. When small iron nails are brought near a magnet, it will be attracted. वो nails ये magnet खींचेंगे, वो आयरन नेल्स एंड स्टील को, स्मॉल पीसेस ऑफ स्टील और आयरन, इट विल उसकी ओर तरफ, मैग्नेट की ओर तरफ खींचेंगे वो, उसको क्या कहते हैं हम? अट्रैक्शन कहते हैं। द मैग्नेटिक फोर्स कैन पुल दिस ऑब्जेक्ट टुवर्ड्स द मैग्नेट। पुल मीन्स खींचना। इट विल अट्रैक्ट और इट विल पुल दिस ऑब्जेक्ट, स्मॉल ऑब्जेक्ट्स टुवर्ड्स द मैग्नेट। ए मैग्नेटिक फोर्स इज ए नॉन कॉन्टैक्ट फोर्स। हियर दोनों आपस में कांटेक्ट होने की जरूरत नहीं है। वो मैग्नेट रहता है, पर लेट अस इमेजिन दैट दिस इज अ मैग्नेट एंड दिस इज अ स्मॉल आयरन नेल, एंड व्हेन वी ब्रॉट नियर टू ईच अदर, दिस आयरन नेल विल बी अट्रैक्टेड टुवर्ड्स द मैग्नेट। इट विल अट्रैक्ट एंड अटैच टू द मैग्नेट। दिस हैपेंस, बट फॉर दिस फोर्स देयर कांटेक्ट होने की जरूरत नहीं है। There is no need of contact between the magnet and the iron nail. आपस में वो दोनों पहले वो दोनों दूर रहते हैं एक के दूसरे। ఒకదానికొకటి దూరంగా ఉంటాయండి। ఒక మ్యాగ్నెట్ ఒక ఐరన్ నైల్ అనేది దూరంగా ఉంటుంది। ఎప్పుడైతే వాటిని దగ్గరకు తీసుకొస్తామో అవి తాకిచ్చే అవసరం లేదు, ఆ ఐరన్ పీసే పోయి మ్యాగ్నెట్ కి అతుక్కొనేస్తుంది అనమాట। సో దీన్ని ఇలాంటి ఫోర్స్ ఏమంటామంటే నాన్ కాంటాక్ట్ ఫోర్స్ అంటాం। ఇట్ విల్ బి కాల్డ్ యాజ్ నాన్ కాంటాక్ట్. వితౌట్ కాంటాక్ట్ ద ఫోర్స్ ఈజ్ ప్రొడ్యూసింగ్ హియర్, ఇక్కడ ఫోర్స్ అనేది వస్తుంది అనమాట। దిస్ మీన్స్ द फोर्स एक्ट्स ऑन द ऑब्जेक्ट विदाउट टचिंग इट। मैग्नेट पहला आयरन नेल को टच नहीं किया, आयरन नेल दूर था, मैग्नेट उसके सामने था, परंतु वो दोनों टच नहीं था, वे दोनों आपस में नहीं, वे दोनों दूर रहते थे। When once it was near, the nail was near the magnet, it itself went and attracted towards the magnet. So this is called attractive force and this is non-contact force. A magnet has two poles. Generally हर एक मैग्नेट को दो पोल रहते हैं, एक नॉर्थ पोल कहते हैं और दूसरा अलग साउथ पोल कहते हैं। नॉर्थ पोल एंड साउथ पोल, उत्तर ध्रुव और दक्षिण ध्रुव कहते हैं। इन तेलुगु में उत्तर ध्रुवम एंड दक्षिण ध्रुवम అని చెప్తారన్నమాట। The unlike poles, unlike means different poles. See here, you just consider this is to be a magnet and this is another magnet, magnet 1 and magnet 2. हर एक magnet, you remember that whatever may be the magnet that which we are going to consider, it will have two poles, one is north and south pole. Every magnet will have two poles. So this magnet has two poles, north and south, this pole has north and south. What is happening here? The unlike poles, unlike means dissimilar, सिमिलरिटी नहीं है। एक नॉर्थ हो तो दूसरा साउथ, एक साउथ हो तो दूसरा नॉर्थ होगा। वो दोनों आपस में आए तो नॉर्थ और साउथ वो क्या होगा? अट्रैक्ट होगा, वो दोनों अट्रैक्ट होगा। So this is one magnet and this is other magnet. South pole of the first magnet and the north pole of the second magnet, वो दोनों आपस में आए, they came very near to each other, but they are not in contact. Remember that They both are near to each other, but they are not in contact. At that time, what is happening? They themselves will attract each other. South pole will attract towards north and north pole will attract towards south. So this is the meaning of this. This is the meaning of unlike poles attract. The pull of the magnet. See magnet क्या कर रहा है इधर? नॉर्थ पोल साउथ पोल को पुल कर रहा है उसकी तरफ. साउथ पोल को नॉर्थ पोल उसकी तरफ खींच रहा है और साउथ पोल नॉर्थ पोल को उसकी तरफ खींच रहा है. वो दोनों आपस में एक दूसरों को खींच रहा है. वो उससे क्या कहते हैं? दैट पुल इज कॉल्ड मैग्नेटिक फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन. आकर्ष कहते हैं, मैग्नेटिक फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन कहते हैं. और द लाइक पोल्स ऑफ द मैग्नेट रिपेल बाय पुशिंग ईच अदर. पहला हम क्या सीखा? अनलाइक पोल्स के बारे में पढ़ा. अनलाइक मीन्स नॉर्थ और साउथ, साउथ और नॉर्थ. अब क्या पढ़ रहा है? लाइक पोल्स. लाइक मीन्स सिमिलर पोल्स. नॉर्थ नॉर्थ, साउथ साउथ आपस में आना या नॉर्थ नॉर्थ आपस में आना. So they will be called as like poles. If they come each other, if south pole come towards south, another south pole, or north pole come towards another north pole, in the sense north pole आपस में आ रहा है, इसका मतलब क्या है? South pole is in other side and this magnet south pole is in other side. So that is the meaning of it. If they come near to each other, they will not attract. They will be get separated. they वो दोनों आपस में दूर जाएंगे. They will be get separated, pushing each other away. The force of these two like poles of the magnet pushing away is called the magnetic force of repulsion कहते हैं. उस repulsion को विकर्ष कहते हैं. विकर्ष, विकर्षणा इन तेलुगु कहते हैं, इन हिंदी में विकर्ष. उधर क्या कहते हैं? आकर्ष कहते हैं. आकर्ष इन तेलुगु में आकर्षणा कहते हैं, अट्रैक्शन. सो अट्रैक्शन कहते हैं और इसको रिपल्शन कहते हैं. इलेक्ट्रिक फोर्स. In order to know about the electric force, we shall have a small activity in order to understand that actually the electric force is a huge concept. It is a very big concept. Since you are kids, we will have just an introduction to towards this topic. Okay, just samjho, just listen this and don't give complete concentrate on this. Just know this. There will be the force called electric force. We shall see. For this, in order to understand this, we shall have an activity. Rub the balloon. आप बैलून से खेलते हैं ना, कोई त्योहार वो वगैरह, कोई if you go outside near temples whatsoever, you are going to get the balloons, use balloons. Okay, उस बैलून को क्या करना? Rub the balloon on a sweater. उस स्वेटर पहनो और स्वेटर पहन के उस स्वेटर पर बैलून से रब करो. रब करके क्या करना? फॉर अबाउट 30 seconds. हाउ मच टाइम यू हैव टू रब? यू हैव टू रब अराउंड 30 seconds. और यू कैन टेक स्वेटर और यू कैन टेक सम towel, even towel also, dry towel. There also you can rub the things, or you can rub your dry hair. You can rub anywhere as you like, right? Then the balloon should be brought near the dry hair, and that rubbed balloon which is rubbed by the rubbed on sweater, okay, or a towel, that should be brought near your dry hair. Or small pieces of paper, you take very small pieces of paper and put them on the floor, and after rubbing this balloon you just take the balloon towards that small pieces of paper. What will happen? You try yourself. You try yourself after listening this. You can observe that the small piece of paper will attract, will move towards the balloon. Or else you can do one thing, you take your comb and rub with your comb your hair, comb your dry hair, not oiled hair, it should be a dry hair. Comb your dry hair with the comb and take that small piece of paper and try to keep that comb near the small piece of paper, so that small pieces of paper will be attracted towards the comb. Why they are attracting? What is happening there? Let us see now. They will stick to the balloon. How it is happening? When we rub the balloon on our clothes, the balloon becomes electrically charged. उस बैलून पर आवेश आता है, इसको क्या कहते हैं, आवेश, चार्ज। ओके, ये इसकी तरफ आई मीन देयर इज नो नीड टू थिंक डीप रिगार्डिंग दिस, समझो चार्ज, हम जाते जाते हम आप समझ सकते हैं ये सभी। द चार्ज्ड बैलून, व्हेन वंस यू रब्ड दैट इट गॉट इलेक्ट्रिकली चार्ज्ड, दैट चार्ज्ड बैलून इज देन एबल टू अट्रैक्ट आवर हेयर or small pieces of paper which are also the electric charges. Those small pieces of paper will have charge, our dry hair will have charge, this dry hair and the balloon which is rubbed on the sweater will also have charge. Generally those two will have opposite charges, one may have positive and one more will have negative, as that of we have discussed in magnet poles के बारे में बात कर लिया हम, क्या, नॉर्थ पोल एंड साउथ पोल इन केस ऑफ मैग्नेट। सिमिलरली इन केस ऑफ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी वी विल हैव चार्जेस, वन इज पॉजिटिव एंड वन मोर इज नेगेटिव। ओके, जस्ट रिमेंबर दिस, आफ्टरवर्ड्स you can get in detail regarding this concept. Okay, there is no need to worry regarding this concept. The charged balloon, okay, balloon में पॉजिटिव चार्ज रहने तो पेपर्स में नेगेटिव रहेगा, नहीं तो वाइस वर्सा, पेपर्स में पॉजिटिव रहे तो नेगेटिव में नेगेटिव बैलून में रहेगा। और जाते जाते समय उस वक्त हम सीख लेंगे क्या बैलून में पॉजिटिव रहता है, क्यों बैलून में पॉजिटिव रहते हैं या नेगेटिव रहते हैं, क्या पेपर में पॉजिटिव या नेगेटिव रहते हैं, क्यों रहते हैं, पॉजिटिव के बारे में क्या कहते हैं, नेगेटिव के बारे में क्या, वो सब भी हम सीख लेंगे जाते जाते। పోతూ తెలుసుకున్నాం అవన్నీ కూడా, పాజిటివ్ ఎలా ఉంటుంది నెగటివ్ ఉంటుందని, జస్ట్ చార్జెస్ అనే ఉంటాయని మాత్రం గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి ఇక్కడ, అది చాలు. ద ఫోర్స్ బిట్వీన్ దిస్ ఎలక్ట్రిక్ ఫోర్స్ ఆర్ ఎలక్ట్రిక్ చార్జెస్ వి సే, ద ఫోర్స్ బిట్వీన్ ద ఎలక్ట్రిక్ చార్జెస్ ఈజ్ కాల్డ్ ఎలక్ట్రిక్ ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स, इसको हिंदी में गुरुत्वाकर्षण कहते हैं. गुरुत्व आकर्षण, भूमि आकर्षण अंटर तेलुगुलो. थ्रो ए बॉल इन द एयर, नॉट ओनली बॉल, यू थ्रो एनीथिंग. मेरे पास पेन है, इस पेन का मैं क्या बोल, व्हाट आई एम डूइंग, आई एम थ्रोइंग इट इन द एयर. व्हाट इज हैपनिंग? डज द बॉल रिमेन इन द एयर? डज द ऑब्जेक्ट रिमेन इन द एयर itself when we throw in the air? No. Or it fall down? It is falling down. See, it has fall down, right? When you throw in the air, it has fall down. Why does the ball falls? Why does an object falls? Why does the pen falls? Why does not remain in the air? When we throw in the air, it should be there itself, na? Why it is coming down? No matter how high we jump, we can jump, right? How high you jump, we will always land back on the ground. We should come back on the ground itself. We do not stay up in the air. We cannot be in the air itself. So how much high you may jump, you should fall down. Why is that so? Why then object is falling? When we leave this object, it is falling down. When we jump, we are falling down. When we throw any object in the air, it is falling down. Why it is happening? We land on the ground because there is a force pulling us down. Some force is pulling down. कुछ बल हमें आकर्षित कर रहा है. This force is called gravitational force कहते हैं और gravity कहते हैं. इसको, उस फोर्स को क्या कहते हैं हमें? Gravitational force. Any object which is in the air should definitely fall down. Why it is falling down? Because of this gravity. Gravity is the force of attraction. Remember that here, it is force of attraction only. वो उसकी तरफ खींचता है, वो उसके आपस अगले वो बाहर नहीं फेंकते हैं, उसकी तरफ खींचते हैं. आप ऊपर से गिरो, मैं ऊपर से गिरना और किसी ऑब्जेक्ट ऊपर से गिरना, एनीथिंग विच इज falling from up, it should fall down itself and it will be attracted towards the earth. That is called gravity. What we call that word? Gravity. There will be force of attraction between two objects. One more. So this is, what is the meaning of gravity? It is the force of attraction between the two objects. What are those two objects? One is the body which has thrown up and the other one is earth. Earth or any of the other body, the force between the earth and any of the other body which has thrown up, the force between them we call it as gravity. The word gravity will come only for earth, remember that. If the earth is included, if you consider the two bodies, in that one body should be earth. The other body may be anything, whether maybe you, me, or pen, paper, book, whatsoever, that will be the second body. The first body, one body should be earth. So in such situation, we call it as gravity. There is a force of attraction between the earth and any object. See here, there will be the force of attraction between two objects. The number one object is earth, the other will be any object near the surface of the earth. This is why the objects in the air always fall back to the ground. So we already had a question, why does everybody should fall down? So this is the answer. Frictional force. It's a very new term to you, but it is very interesting. Come, let us see. So if you toss a ball on the ground, I am just tossing a ball on the ground, means you hold the ball and just put it on the floor. What happens? It will bounce, the ball will bounce, 1 pitch, 2 pitch, 3 pitch. After bouncing, the height of the bouncing will go on reducing, right? After bouncing for some time, the ball will slow down and come to stop. Why? Why it is coming to stop? Why it is coming to rest? Why is that so? A force is acting on the ball. When that force is acting on the ball? As it moves. When ball comes to motion, then the force will exist. Until the ball is at rest, the ball is in my hand, there is no force on the ball. When once I took the ball and put it on the ground and throw it on the ground, the ball starts bouncing and there exists a force. A force will develop. That force we call it as frictional force. We shall see what does it do. This force is called frictional force or friction. When the frictional force will develop? When ball starts in motion, when ball starts moving, when ball is in motion. When I release the ball and when it touches the ground, one thing you remember that this frictional force is contact force. What type of force? Contact force. When ball falls on the ground, when I release the ball and that ball falls on the ground, then friction comes into picture. Okay. Then the friction will develop. Until the ball falls on the ground, there is no frictional force. Until the ball falls on the ground, frictional force is not there. When the frictional force is developing, when once the ball is falling on the ground, then this friction comes into picture. What this friction does? What will it do? It makes the moving ball slows down. So, what does this frictional force do? It makes the moving ball, the ball which is in motion, it will make the ball to slow down or stop and finally stop. So this is the work of frictional force here. Frictional force will always develop in opposite direction to the applied force. There will be two terms here, remember that. One is applied force, APPLIED, applied force, and the one more is friction. Applied force, if this is in this particular direction, the friction will be in exactly opposite direction. When the applied force is in downward direction, the frictional forces will be in upward direction. Generally, the frictional force, when does the frictional force act? When two surfaces are in contact. When two surfaces, the surface of the ball and the surface of the earth, they both should come in contact. When I release the ball from my hands, the ball slowly moves down, down, down and finally reach the ground and touches the ground. When the ball touches the ground, the lower surface of the ball and the upper surface of the ground, this is ground and this is ball. The ball is here up somewhere in my hand and it is coming down, 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 down and finally it falls on the ground. When once it touches the ground, they both are in contact. The lower surface of the ball and upper surface of the ground. They both came into contact. At that time, one force will develop. That force we call it as friction. At that time, there will be one force. That force will be developed at that instant of time, at that particular instant of time. At that time, when ball touches the ground, when lower surface of the ball touches the ground, then one new force is going to be developed. What is that force? Frictional force. What does this frictional force make? This frictional force makes the ball to slow down. When once it pitches, it will have one bounce. In the second bounce will be at lower height when compared to the first bounce. Third bounce will be still lower, fourth bounce will be still lower and fifth so on. And finally the ball will stops. The bounce is getting lowered. How it is getting lowered? What is happening there? There the friction arises. So, if one more thing. So, what is friction now? Friction is the force which goes against the motion. When two surfaces are in contact. One thing you remember that this frictional force will always develop when two surfaces are in contact. When two surfaces are not in contact, no friction. When it gets contact, then only the friction develops. What does this friction makes? This friction makes the body to slow down on the second surface. Makes the first body to slow down on the second body. So that is happening there. When we push a box, it starts moving. After a while, it stops moving. Why? There is some box here. I am just pushing the box. When we push the box, it will go up to some extent. Finally, the box will slow down and once again stop. Why it is stopping? Friction is the force that opposes the motion when two surfaces are in contact. While you push the box, when once the box gets in motion, then in opposite direction one force will be developed. That force we call it as frictional force. I already told you applied force. Pushing the box is nothing but applying the force. Pushing the box means applying force. When once you apply the force in the opposite direction, one force will automatically develop. That force we call it as frictional force. So friction is the force that opposes the motion when two surfaces are in contact. Have you ever noticed when we are washing the dishes, slips out of our hands while we washing the dish with the soap? Okay, sometimes the dishes will slip from our hands. Why? What is happening there? The soap and water reduces the friction. Soap water generally reduces the friction. That is why in order to remove a ring or remove a bangle, generally the ladies at home, what they do, they used to wash with soap water. They used to use soap water so that the ring will easily come out. What happens? The friction between the ring and the finger, they both are in contact, it gets reduced because of soap. Soap will reduce that. So the soap and water reduces friction. That is why the dishes making it, so hands and dishes making it difficult for you to grip. In order to grip a dish, there should be friction. What does the soap water do? It reduces that friction so that it falls. Friction helps us to do many things in our daily life. We see friction, the life would be very difficult. See why? Why the life would be very difficult without friction? We cannot do few things, not only few things, many things we shall see in that. few things. Without friction, vehicles will not be able to slow down and stop. Vehicles, there will be a lot of vehicles in the traffic. If there is no friction, so there will be much accidents, so they cannot stop. Friction between the ground and your shoes help you to walk without slipping. In order not to slip, there should be good grip between the ground and shoe, or ground and foot, ground and slipper, whatsoever. If there is no good grip between those two things, we will definitely fall down. The grip itself indicates friction. With friction, we are going to get good grip. It is difficult to walk on wet surface or ice because there is little friction between the surface and your shoes. There will be small friction between the surface and the shoes, so that the grip, we cannot get good grip in wet surface or ice or on the ice. Even if you pour oil and we cannot walk, we cannot even stand if you pour oil, and because there will be slight friction between those two things. Friction enables us to hold the things without slipping. So what the friction will do? It will enable us to hold the things. It makes the things not to fall or not to skid. So friction is more useful. One more thing, imagine without friction will we able to do the following things. There are few things. Is it possible to do these things without friction? Hold a pencil or pen while writing. In order to write, we should hold the things. If you want to hold, there should be friction. If there is no friction, we cannot hold. Okay, hold the pencil while writing. Strike a matchstick. In order to strike a matchstick, there should be the friction between those two things. So lightning, then only the fire comes. So if there is fully smooth, we cannot get the fire from that. Tie shoelace. It is difficult to tie the shoelace. No, we cannot be able to do anything of these things without the friction. So friction is very important for our life. Rub your hands each other for about 1 minute. Just rub. Likewise, you rub your hands for about 1 minute. How do you feel? You feel warm. Too warm. Our hands feel warm. Warm is both the hands will become little hot. Friction between your hands, moving hands produce heat that warms up your hands. Who is going to warm up? The friction is going to warm up your hands. Early human beings in the past, around 10,000 years back, like that, a fire by rubbing the sticks quickly to produce. Even by rubbing the stones, by rubbing the sticks, they used to get fire. Once upon a time, there was no matchstick. So early days, they used to rub the stones or sticks, they used to get fire. The heat produced by the friction may helpful in starting fires and keeping us warm. However, the heat produced is not always useful. You may feel that heat produced between the two objects is always useful. Is it or not? We shall see now. In few cases it is useful. If you feel even in cold winters, what we do, we just rub our hands and we keep on our palm like that, so that it feels little warm. Here the heat which is producing is useful now, but in few cases it is not useful. What are those cases? We shall see now. Friction between the moving parts of the machine parts produces heat. If the machine becomes too hot, some parts of the machine can damage. There will be some machines. See, you may went for floor mills. In floor mills, there will be the two belts. There will be the belt between two tires, so that it will become too hot, so that after few days that belt may wear and tear. So sometimes the energy used by the machines to do work is wasted as heat. Some sort of heat is going to be released from the machines, that heat is going to be lost, that is going to be wasted. That heat is to be wasted. Even our engine, while we ride a bike, our engine is going to get heated, so that some sort of fuel is going to be lost, petrol or diesel whatsoever, in the form of heat. So that in such cases the heat is going to be wasted. The drill bit of an electric drill gets hotter after drilling due to friction. When once an electric drill is used to make some sort of holes, that electric drill bit, the front part of that electric drill, it becomes heated. So that it becomes heated, we should not touch at that time, because what happens, it will be too hot. If we touch that, we feel more heat. We cannot use bare hands, we cannot use it immediately. If you touch it, it gets heated, it will be very hot. So friction causes wear and tear. So if there is much friction, it will cause wear and tear. Wear in the sense arigi povodam in Telugu, and tear in the sense chirigi povodam. The tire gets flattened, it becomes smooth, that is called wearing. Tearing means it just removed, I mean it just what is that, scratch, it becomes tear, scratches. The friction between eraser and paper surface caused either erase to wear off, even paper sometimes. Children, you are going to use eraser to rub, to erase the pencil mark. At that time while erasing, you will be erased the pencil mark sometimes. In some cases, if there is thick pencil mark, if you are going to erase it, there will be the chance of wearing or tearing of a paper. Even paper gets teared in some cases. Okay, friction causes wear and tear of shoe soles. Shoe soles in the sense bottom of the shoe, and tires, bottom of the tires. It gets by after going on using in the road, there will be the friction between the tire and the road, and similarly the shoe soles and the road. So after using it, due to friction, what happens, it becomes wear and tear, it becomes wear few times and even tear sometimes. The tread patterns, I mean in tires you can observe some cross lines like that. If you have some tire, you will be having some cross lines. This will be called as tread patterns. Even in your shoe, there will be some tread patterns. On the soles of the shoes and tires help the grip. It will help in gripping. That's why the new tire will not get skidded. If the tire gets flattened, it will get skid. It will be skidded. So new tire will have, what is that, tread patterns, so that it will not skid. It will help the grip, it will have road grip, good road grip. Even your advertisements, some tires will be showing it will have very high road grip, like that they are showing, because they will have good marks, so that between the surface of the tire and the surface of the road, there will be friction, surface of the ground. If the tread patterns are worn out, if that tread patterns by using continuously, they will worn off, they will go off. What happens? The shoes or tires cannot grip on the ground well, so that they can slip when you use them. That's why we are going to get skidding of bicycle, skidding of vehicles, brake fails, etc. so on. Brake fail, in order to cause one of the brake fail during rainy season, that road grip will becomes reduced in flattened tire, in the sense that patterns have been worn off. Patterns are chirigipoyintayi anamata, there will be no patterns there. So this is the thing. How to reduce friction? Friction can be useful. Actually the friction is useful, definitely it is useful, but too much of friction is troublesome. We already discussed. So what happens if there is much friction? We already discussed the topic. So we shouldn't have too much of friction. So in order to reduce the friction, we have to take some steps. Ways to reduce friction. To reduce friction, we use lubricants such as oil and grease. Oil is going to be used, or grease is going to be used to the moving parts, especially the cycle tires in between the rim. So bicycle tires, so we are going to, in some machinery parts, the wheel which is in motion, we are going to pour some sort of oil there in order to have smoothness. Lubricating a bicycle chain with oil reduces the friction, so that pedaling becomes smooth. We can easily, the pedaling will be smooth. Lubrication squeaking means making some noise. In all machinery parts we will get noise if there is it doesn't have sufficient lubricant. Okay, if the lubricant is lost, it makes sound. Even bicycle will make sound while pedaling. So the door hinges means the connection between the door and the frame. In order to have the connection between door and frame, there will be the one iron plate will be there. So that will be called as hinge. So for that also, there will be, while moving the door, we will get some sort of sound for old doors. At that time, what we have to have some lubricants, oil or grease should be there. It can help reducing friction and stop squeaking.